there's a set, I mean,
you can
I'm going to check myself. Carry on.
It's a hard one. I think what you're asking, and I understand. You know, if you do it for you, you got to do it for everybody. I mean, basically, there's a process, a law of use permits and building permits, or non-exempt ag permits, or whatever it fits. And you don't fit the category that you don't need a use permit or no building permits. And our hands are kind of tied. I mean, I'm wanting to. What can we do to help this guy now?
That's what I'm trying to do.
But
is there an
no.
answer there?
The answer is no. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, the practical, I guess I'll be direct. The practical answer is that when you're doing a project like this, you come to the county and you say, what permits do I need in order to do what I want to do? And then the planning staff will explain to you, you know, on this particular land, you either need a permit or you don't. And when you go to the building official, he'll tell you, you know, what are you going to use the building for, and based on that, what you need in terms of permits. And if you don't do that, and if you go out and build things without having done that, you run into these problems.
Yeah, I don't see anywhere out of anything other than upholding the determination made by the director. If anyone sees it different than that.
I'll make that motion. I mean, we have a general contractor in front of us that has dealt with other counties and other departments, other building departments, and he knows the building codes and et cetera. And this is, and I know he's going to work to do things right, but there's no way around this, and we have to uphold it. So I'm the motion we uphold the determination made by the director.
Do I have a second? I have a second. Motion lies, not a second.
Now, can we direct staff to help him
Within the law.
within the law?
Okay, which means the guy you use permit, you got to use building permit. Yeah, you can direct staff, but you can't direct staff to not uphold the law.
I understand
You
that.
can't make him be illegal.
You can't make him do illegal, that's what you're asking.
I'm not trying to make him illegal. I'm just trying to find a solution for the guys. Put a bunch of work out there.
Well, you shouldn't have did it.
Well, no, he should have come in here.
The fact is, if you go up on Diamond Mountain or anywhere out of town and you build a house and you got a $300,000 house built and someone finds it and reports it, you're in big trouble. This is no different whether it's a $300,000 house or a couple of $500 cabins on flood. I mean,
Is there fines already established?
Well, I think what and I don't know if it's happened or not, but the building official is probably going to have to tag the properties, the buildings with.
There's administrative penalties that we could go down that road. We're here
We're
trying to
not
talk,
to do that, I get that.
work it out.
So if he pulls the beds out of these sheds and downsizes them, where's that leave?
He needs a building permit for the main residence,
Right. and he's willing to
plumbing,
do that.
septic, and for the
You guys,
barn.
I've got my permit for the septic, or for the well.
But listen,
And you guys allowed me to do my own testing of my perk tests.
Okay, but
Okay.
I mean,
I'll be
if
glad
he
to do
takes the beds out of those sheds and he
there's
comes in compliance with the rest of his,
there's plumbing, there's there's stoves and all those. All that stuff is not consistent with something that is
I
not
get
for
that.
It's not as simple as just taking the beds out, it's the use of the building.
Right, I get that. I get that.
we have one question, Diana, you get a question.
Yes, I'd like to ask, can I ask him a question? Did you have, are these prefab buildings that you purchased? In other words, you build them yourself?
Yes.
So that, therefore, you don't have a contractor outside. I can tell you there's a lot of homes that are put on foundations that basically aren't structurally sound.
Yes.
But sometimes if you're misled, you know, then by a prefab situation, then that's, you have to have someone to engineer.
my
it. But I'm
father-
just saying, you already know that.
Yes.
Okay.
My grandfather and father were builders.
Okay, thank you.
If this board, think, if this board chooses to take no action, what we're doing is leaving planning no other choice but to, use
They're still obliged to enforce the uniform building code and the zoning ordinance.
which we do to have is just fines and penalties and all that. So we're going to force them to do that, Jim.
Well, a couple things. Hopefully, we're not going to force anybody to do anything. That's
they got no choice, that's the next thing they gotta do.
I'm a vociferous reader of articles on the net. I go out and I read hundreds of newspapers and magazines and articles and stuff, and I think it was in the LA Times in the last day or two, and I went to see if I could find it, but there was an article about one of the latest trends for housing, which I found was kind of intriguing to me. It stuck out. It was the pictures they had in the article what attracted me to it. And I'll see if I can try to locate that for staff benefit, because it was very interesting. But people are not wanting, it's kind of the anti-McMansion approach to living, very minimalist, in which people are, they're getting these prefab, basically containers, is what it comes down to. They're more or less square or rectangle type boxes, and the siding that's put on the outside of it, the way they furnish the insides, it's, you know, very, I mean, literally, take that space there from where the door is over to the wall in that back section. I mean, some of them can't be much bigger than that. I mean, we're talking about anywhere from, you know, maybe 80, 90 square feet, or which is kind of the under that 10 by 12 up to maybe 150 to 200 square feet is a very common size. And instead of having a big house, they may have 3 or 4 of these sited on there, and this is where they have their kitchen over here, and then they go over here, and this is where they maybe watch TV, and then they have another one, and so it's kind of similar to what you just described.
Yes, yes.
And these are all, you know, engineered, and whether they're put on foundation. I mean, obviously they're being installed following, you know, the building codes and the planning laws and stuff like that. So it's not a unique concept. I think it's one that is kind of catching on. And based on this article, it's kind of like kind of urban living in a very, like in a compressed box, that people really don't need to have the square footages that they otherwise use. And when you look at some of the houses that were built pre-1950, pre-1960, they're pre-World War II, you know, a lot of those houses are very small houses. People lived in very small, modest areas. Now, it's like if you live in that house, it's like a shoebox. You know, the industry, the building industry would like to have you get into these 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 square feet and above houses that are just like mansions, as they refer to them. So to me, I think we need to bring about some reform with the way we perceive and conduct business. I'd like to see that be done as a side thing. It doesn't solve Mr. Light's problem. I think what this board should do, and what I'd like to see us do, is that we refer this case back to the planning department and to Mr. Likes with the recommendation that he pursue a use permit to allow him to have, you know, multiple little houses as an example on his property. Not just have the house that's on the foundation, but the ability to have these little outbuildings or these little containerized, you know, kind of like what that article was describing that I read a couple days ago, and make that be the approach. Obviously, each of those structures need to be installed following and based on codes. So, you know, as a contractor, you know that if the law in California requires you, and this is not Nevada, you know, this is California, that if, you know, if it requires you to put in the sprinklers and stuff like that there, that you have to meet those unless there's exemptions that are available under the law that allow you to opt out for whatever reason. I mean, I think that's whatever is kind of reasonable. In some cases, the laws aren't very reasonable. And I tell you, the uniform building code with the sprinkler stuff is not something that California adopted. That's actually was adopted by the international people, and it's supposed to be imposed, I guess, around the world, if not around the country. So the fact that California is the only one that seems to be serious about it, you know, tells you maybe a little bit about California. But in other words, what I'd like to see us do is go back, you know, and have you go through that process, not be part of some administrative penalty or whatever. And as we work through that process with Mr. Likes, we can identify where areas could be, you know, maybe be strengthened or improved in terms of our own ordinances, and that separate from your case, that staff be directed to come back with recommendations for possible modifications to our, you know, zoning and the ordinances that we have that will be more accommodating to people like Mr. Likes in the future. I think it's a two-pronged approach. We get him fixed, get him on a solid ground, get him squared away, but at the same time, let's set up a new dynamic there that maybe can be, because I think minimalist, the way of the future, is something that we should be able to encourage.
Well, to fix efficiency, so basically what you've said, what I heard is uphold what the director, Mr. Anderson, is
That's what he just said.
that's the motion. Do you want to try a new motion, Jim, or we got to move on?
Well, Mr. Anderson's trying to make the existing ordinance work. I'm willing to do that on the condition that we look at trying to fix the ordinances to be more accommodating in future. So that is different. Okay.
And so, Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Just by way of procedure, as I understand it, and perhaps Mr. Anderson can correct me if I'm wrong, but where we stand procedurally is that essentially a parcel with a certain configuration has been identified as being not in compliance with the zone that overlies that particular parcel, and that administrative determination has been made by the county department charged with making that determination, and that's Planning and Building Services, and in particular the director. An appeal of that determination has been filed by Mr. Likes with this body, and the question for you today is whether you grant the appeal or not. And that's how I see it. And if you don't grant that appeal, the determination previously made stands, and Mr. Likes would have to go through the process that was described, which is the application for a use permit and the like. So,
Mr. Council, reading the action request, receive staff report,
yes.
and conduct a public meeting to consider the appeal,
Yes.
and uphold the determination made by the director or grant the appeal.
Correct.
So, I mean, if we just uphold the determination of the director, we don't have to talk about an appeal.
There's three possible things that can happen. One is you grant the appeal, one you deny the appeal, and three you don't take any action because you don't have a second or what have you. If you don't take an action, then I think what council is suggesting is that the planning director's decision stands if there's no action.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
That's what I believe the case is.
That is clear to me. Thank you, Mr. Deacon. All right, what do you guys want to do? Do I need a motion, Aaron?
We tried the same one.
I mean,
Still uphold the determination made by the director.
I guess what you could say is we deny the appeal. That would be-
That's the same as upholding, but yeah, it's upholding.
We make a motion to deny the appeal. We got the motion to deny the appeal by Ms. Supervisor Albaugh. Do you have a second?
Okay, well, I'm going to give it a stand.
Do you have a second?
Okay.
Motion dies in lack of a second. What do you got?
Hang on a second.
I was going to second the motion.
Okay.
Okay, on the condition, it's going to be a conditional second.
You guys are stressing me.
Hopefully the maker of the motion would be willing to accept the condition. I'm referring, this is on page 222, on January 16th, 2015 is the time frame. It says the Director of Planning and Building Services provided Mr. Likes with a determination of similar use stating that the improvements to the property are allowed upon securing a use permit and the required building permit. So that's the determination that was made by the department, which was appealed by Mr. Likes. And I'm willing to second the motion to deny the appeal and to support that determination that was made by the Director of Planning and Building Services, with the condition that the board directs county staff to explore and to recommend back to the board. This is independent of Mr. Likes pursuing his use permit and his building permits. Okay, that's what that determination has to do. But as you're doing that, I want the staff to be able to evaluate, explore, and to recommend back to the board ways in which we can improve our processes to accommodate projects or proposals similar to what Mr. Likes has brought forth in the future, for future Mr. Likes. So I'd like to see that as be a part of it. So we aren't just dealing with Mr. Likes and we go on next.
If you want to help Mr. Likes a bit, but Aaron, do you agree to that?
Well, yes, no, but I want to ask the question, would it be more appropriate to put it in this year, or would we bring it up that under
I want to hook the two together.
I'd like some clarification on just exactly what that is, because, yeah, so would Susan. Because I think what you're suggesting is a zoning ordinance change which would apply to many more than just the Upland Conservation District zoning, right? Is that correct?
That could be, I would like them to explore and analyze all the various ramifications and come back with a recommendation with how we can be more accommodating as a county towards proposals or projects that have been proposed by people like Mr. Lex. Now, I don't want to make that it has to be resolved before we resolve Mr. Lex. Mr. Lex is his case stands alone and has to go through that use permit and building permit processes as it currently, is in the code. But while that is happening, I'd like to see us do
So an
that.
update and a change in the zoning ordinance on.
Well, we may determine after we get the recommendation back that we don't want to make any changes.
Why don't we just take care of this issue today, and then you put on the agenda for next week what you want to do.
And I'll second it next week. I think we're two separate deals. and
Two
we're trying
separate
to combine
deals.
into one.
I mean, you as the county supervisor, Jim, can put on the agenda, I want to change this situation so the deal with Mr. Lights doesn't happen again, but let's separate.
Well, I like to be optimistic, but I know how things work around here, that if we don't have things tied together, the incentive to do that's not there. So,
At the point, we have a motion by Aaron, we have a second.
I'll second it.
We got a second. Thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Lex, I think you know that we're reluctant
We-
to go through this process. We want to help you.
I want to get whatever I need to be up here.
We're gonna get, we got a second now. Any more discussion? Madam Clerk, would you poll the board?
Yeah, I need discussion first.
Do you need clarification on the motion?
Yes.
Can we ask the motion maker to restate the motion, please?
My motion was to uphold or
Deny the appeal.
appeal.
Okay, one of you, please.
The motion is to deny the appeal and uphold the decision of the director.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Uphold the determination made by the director.
and I would request that in the minutes that the determination of the director be clearly stated, and that's this.
Okay, and that's what I wasn't on that page, so that's the third paragraph on
Yes.
2 of 22?
Third paragraph, yes,
That's not part of the motion.
No.
That is not part of the motion.
Well, I would like to, it says, the problem is 20 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever, somebody reads the minutes and says, upholds the director's recommendation. But unless you have this, you don't know what that is. And I'd like the minutes to reflect what the director's recommendation or determination was. So if we could put in quote this sentence here, then that way there, the person reading the minutes would know. And there's a reason for that.
Okay. I don't even want to try to get it into your head. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a,
So that's the motion, but what am I doing with that paragraph? That's,
Where it starts, the
you're
director.
going to put that in
As
the
far as
motion.
procedure, I think it's up to the maker of the motion
Yeah.
to make the motion.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's what the whole thing is.
Well, good point, Mister. I think if we go to the parliamentary procedure, we have a motion and a second on the table, and we are trying
You need to
to,
amend the motion
we need to amend the motion to do that right
include
now.
that quote.
Yeah.
And we can't do that. And if Aaron don't want to amend the motion,
Hang on, I'm reading this again.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote for the motion. I just want to make sure that what I'm voting on is recorded.
Trying to make sure the motion.
the only way you can do that,
Yeah.
Jim, is to amend the motion to include
Well,
that.
Aaron could amend, he could restate his motion to reflect that, or I'd be happy to make a friendly amendment to add to his motion the wording of the director's determination.
Aaron, you want to, we can't do that, make with the motion, doesn't accept it.
Well,
It starts right here,
Yeah, I was just.
and it ends right there. I mean, he states very clearly what he,
It's part of the record, I mean, we'll put it in there, I mean, I don't see the big deal.
Well, it's part of the record,
There's a
but-
friendly amendment, yeah.
it's part of the record, but it requires anybody who tries to go find the record. And this
Okay.
document gets separated from the minutes
that's
early on.
correct. This piece of paper is not going to be around in 5 years.
Yeah.
You want to
It will
add
be in
that?
Jim's office.
Not mine.
The maker of the motion said we can add that. Second?
Second.
Okay. We're getting there, buddy. Okay, now, Madam Clerk, would you pull the board? All right, if you got the motion straight.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Supervisor Chapman?
I'm gonna vote aye.
You better.
Supervisor Elba?
Aye.
Supervisor Hempel?
Aye.
Supervisor Hammond?
Aye.
Supervisor Pyle?
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Light.
Now,
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chairman, now that the motion's been passed, okay, and following your request, I'm gonna request now that the chair directs county administration and the planning and building services department to study and to analyze and to report back to the board at their earliest conveniences, recommendations on how we can strengthen and improve our zoning and permit ordinances to provide for these kind of projects.
The chair does so. Moving on. Thank you. We got.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. We're going to take up C1, and then we will break for lunch. And come back for
Time
marijuana.
certain, 11:15.
I'm gonna step out.
C1?
I own property in that district.
What's C1? CSA1. CSA2, excuse me.
Public hearing.
Yes. Y'all connected? Or you're disconnecting at this point? Okay, very good.
Okay, we are going to open the public hearing at 12:07.
That's fine, no.
Did you hear that? 12:07, I open the public hearing.
Thank you. Stick around.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Maureen Anderson, Planning and Building Services. I'll take another shot at this. Resolution of Lassen County Board of Supervisors requesting that the Lassen County Local Agency Formation Commission, LAFCO, take proceedings for the dissolution of County Service Area Number 2, the Jonesville Water System. The background is the board directed staff to dispose of the property. The property is now in the ownership of the city. So it's a perfunctory action to dissolve the CSA. And we've worked with County Council, John Benoit, and getting a resolution that's in front of you now, and just need your direction to do so.
Any questions for staff report?
How many more times this thing got to come?
I know, it just.
Oh, it's like a car, baby.
Time.
This is it, hopefully. I don't want to jinx myself.
There's no need to rehash all the previous conversations.
I tried to go fast.
This is pretty much the tail end action on closing off that process.
Except for a few members that have to go through this in black.
Is there any questions from the public on the staff report? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, is there any new correspondence?
No, sir.
Is there anybody that wishes to,
Speak in favor, speak opposed.
oppose, speak? Yeah.
That last one
Does
said.
anybody wish to speak in opposition of this proposal? Seeing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak in support of this proposal? Seeing none, we will bring it back to the board. What is the board?
I would make a motion, but it might drag on for an hour.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt this resolution, and I just want to state that I think this is a successful conclusion to a long process that started back in 1990, 1991. And at the time, when you look at the map that is here, it was envisioned Caltrans wanted to build a new shop and they needed a water source, and it was Mr. Bixby's vision, Mr. Swordlaw's vision, and at that time the board's vision that this investment in this resource was to provide a water source that eventually would provide water to the entire Johnsonville community area to deal with whatever the future growth. They were hoping to attract a lot of car dealerships and other kind of commercial businesses that were nested within the city out to that location. And the only customer that successfully hooked up to this system was the Caltrans building. And so people out there chose not to be a part of this kind of a system. That doesn't mean that someday in the future they may wish they had, but at the same time, that was the basis for it. And so the only agency that has really the wherewithal to manage a water system has been the city of Susanville. They've taken over that operation now. It serves the airport, and it's also available for the fire district water trucks and so forth to hook up to. So to me, I think getting rid of this in the county service area is most appropriate. So
I'll second that motion.
We got a motion and a second, any more discussion? Madam Clerk, could you call the board?
I just want to ask the clerk to make note that CAO Egan has accepted himself from this entire discussion. I think he knows that he owns land within CSA 2 or within 500 feet of it.
yeah.
Good call, Kim. Okay, after that, Madam Clerk, could you call the board?
Supervisor Chapman?
Aye.
Supervisor Alba? Supervisor Hemphill?
Aye.
Supervisor Hammond?
All right.
Supervisor Crowe?
All right. Okay, with that, we'll recess to 1:30.
Call.